Lucy Letby, hiding in plain sight. Lucy Letby became the country's most notorious nurse. In August 2023, after a 9-month trial, she was found guilty of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 6 others during her time working as a neonatal nurse at the Countess of Chester Hospital in England. These guilty verdicts made Letby the most prolific serial killer of children in modern British history. She received a whole life order, meaning she will spend the rest of her life in prison with no chance of release. Last year, I undertook a detailed and forensic examination of Lucy Letby to determine what she is. And if you have not accessed that series, you can do so on my Ultra channel, and I would encourage you to do so, as it is a fantastic examination not only of this woman's behaviour, but also to enable you to understand more about the way that people are categorized. She did, in effect, hide in plain sight. This is something that commonly occurs with certain individuals, but the clues are there as to what they are. There are those who remain convinced of her guilt. There are others that suggest that she may be the victim of a miscarriage of justice. She is convicted. Her appeals, so far, have failed. There are those that are certain of her guilt. The consultants who fought to see her tried believe she is guilty, as do the parents of the children that have died or were attacked. There are others that believe that she is innocent. On the surface, Letby seemed just like any other young nurse who loved her job. And that is the case with many narcissists, because even the lesser narcissists are able to control the beast, if you will, so that they seem normal. Mid-range and greater and the ultra all operate facades, enabling them to fit in with a greater degree of regularity. Remember, if the narcissist is always abusing somebody, it makes it harder for them to obtain victims, and therefore it is necessary for the narcissism to adopt either a facade when dealing with the outside world or a veneer in dealing with one-on-one for the purposes of fitting in. Of course, over time, the narcissist will give themselves away, but many people still don't spot it because they don't know what to look for, and even when they do see certain behaviours, their emotional thinking causes them to discount it, or when they see the behaviours, they don't know what it truly represents. This enables the narcissist to hide in plain sight, similar to the way that Lucy Letby has behaved. She seemingly came from a loving family, brought up in Hereford by her doting parents. However, this doting may well have created a lack of control environment, as I've explained in my detailed analysis. She had an active social life. Many narcissists do. Salsa dancing was a particular favourite of hers. She was a member of the local pub quiz team. Her home was neat and tidy, with cuddly toys on her bed. This, of course, generates a disconnect between the seemingly average and normal and almost quite pleasant life that she led and the horror of the crimes for which she has been convicted. She was a poster girl for the hospital. She was the face of fundraising for the neonatal unit, a friendly-looking, smiling young nurse in hospital scrubs. However, the fact is that she was hiding in plain sight. For instance, one person explained that of all the friends, Lucy was definitely the weirdest. So they had seen some behaviours which didn't quite stack up. They didn't recognise that she was a narcissist, but there was something about the way that she behaved, which meant that she stood out as being odd, about being weird. The fact is that one of the fundamental aspects that reinforces what she is links to her need for control. There are some that have questioned whether it was a fair trial, because the prosecution called 6 experts and the defence called none. Who would be behind the decision to not call an expert from the defence team? Lucy Letby. She is the one that gives instructions to her solicitor and barrister. She had 4 years from the point of arrest to going on trial to prepare a defence team and decide whether expert evidence would be provided. She'll have been advised, but she signs off on those decisions. She would have to approve not calling an expert witness. She isn't unhappy with her legal team. She's continued to use them. They represented her not just through the first trial, but through the retrial and then through the Court of Appeal. She's still instructing them. And therefore, you have to ask, why would you think that it's a good idea to try to mount a defence without an expert witness? It is the arrogance of the narcissist who, by their own delusion, believes that they are innocent and that they don't need an expert to prove that. It is the arrogance of the narcissist who believes that they are right and everybody else is wrong. I am innocent. I will tell you that I'm innocent. I don't need an expert to prove that. There are other narcissists about whom I have spoken who regularly are known for not taking advice. It is the case that Lucy Letby will have been advised by the lawyers to have expert evidence, and her arrogance and the necessity of nullification of a threat to control will have caused her to say, I don't need one, that she would have rejected that. It's also the case that information has come to light that Lucy Letby failed her final year student placement. Why? She was found to be cold and lacking empathy with patients and families. Her assessor wrote in her final report that she was not ready to practice because she needed a lot more support and prompting and was cold, that she lacked empathy and her manner was off. An absence of emotional empathy is the hallmark of the narcissist. Being cold with people is a narcissistic indicator. Thus, somebody noticed that she had a failing with regard to emotional empathy, that she exhibited coldness, that her manner was off, and that led to her failing her final year student placement. She naturally got around that, but that is another piece of evidence that reinforces what she is. And also, that notwithstanding this, she was able to continue to do what she did, hiding in plain sight as an individual who'd already been identified as lacking emotional empathy, but was allowed to access those children. A further piece of evidence relates to messages that she sent. One nurse said that she felt so uncomfortable when she received some of the texts from Letby after the babies had died, because it sounded like she was excited about deaths and couldn't wait to tell them, like it was gossip. This was categorized as odd behaviour. And of course, this shows the incongruity of her behaviour, a failure to precisely fit in, a misfiring of her cognitive empathy, the revealing of the absence of emotional empathy, and also the necessity to draw fuel driven by her conduct. Having murdered the children, she wanted to tell somebody about what had happened. Her need for control meant that she wouldn't admit to doing it, but she wanted to talk about the fact that they had died to prompt a reaction from people so that subconsciously she would receive fuel. And thus she did so, risking being seen to act in an unusual manner. And in the circumstances, this was another instance of outing herself in a minor way whilst hiding in plain sight. Individuals who behave as Lucy Letby has behaved are often labelled as monsters. The fact is that the monsters that commit these crimes are invariably as ordinary behaving and looking as you. How often have you heard, after a massacre, "He always seemed such a quiet neighbour. He didn't seem the kind to do this." Who does seem the kind to do this? Because you will look time and time through history that the individuals that engage in these behaviours, the narcissists and the psychopaths, are individuals who have fit in. But when you look carefully, when you know what to look for, when you become an expert in the identification of the various indicators, you will see that the answers were staring you in the face all the while, because this individual was hiding in plain sight. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.